Hi everyone, my name is Navneet Singh and I am your nutritionist, and my mission is to convince you that food can be the most powerful medicine in treating and reversing chronic ailments, in keeping you healthy and disease free for a long time. Today, just like online shopping, getting on new diets every single day has become so easy. But the one diet trend that has caught on like wildfire is the trend of eating every 2 to 3 hours, and the claims are that you can lose weight doing that. I am not here to troll any nutritionist or health guru out there. My sole aim is to give you the science of how our hormones work in response to what we eat, when we don't eat anything for a few hours, or when we fast. Based on this science, you can decide what works for you and what will keep you healthy in the long term. If you do like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share this video, and also don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Now let's get into the story of how our hormones are secreted. Every time that we eat something, the major hormone that gets secreted is insulin. Whenever we eat something, our blood glucose rises in response to the food that goes in, and the glucose that is circulating in the blood requires insulin to be secreted by our pancreas in order to reduce the glucose and allow the entry of the glucose from the blood into the cells of our body. And insulin is the hormone that is responsible for that entry of glucose into the cells. I know a lot of us think that insulin is something that comes in injections and it is only needed by patients who have diabetes. But no, the beta cells of our pancreas secrete insulin naturally, and it is a very important essential hormone that every single one of us needs. So every single cell of our body also has insulin receptors in order to allow glucose to enter from our blood into the cells, so that the level of glucose in our blood can remain normal. The hormone that works in opposition to insulin is known as glucagon. So when we eat anything, insulin is the hormone that gets secreted and glucagon is very low at that time. But when we stop eating anything, or we haven't eaten anything for the last 6 or 8 or more hours, glucagon is the dominant hormone and insulin is very low at that time. So while insulin wants to store the excess glucose in our liver, muscles and fat cells, glucagon wants to use that stored glucose as energy for our body. So insulin is a storage hormone, glucagon is the hormone that wants to spend stores of energy. Because these hormones work in opposition to each other, their balance will determine whether you will gain weight or you will lose weight. To gain a deeper understanding of how insulin and glucagon work, let's look at two scenarios. Scenario number 1 is when you are on a high carb diet, when you are eating every 2 to 3 hours, and scenario number 2 is when you haven't eaten anything for the last 6, 8 or more hours and you are on a low carb diet. So in scenario number 1, insulin will be the dominant hormone. In scenario number 2, glucagon will be the dominant hormone. In scenario number 1, insulin will inhibit fat burning. It will increase fat storage because insulin is a storage hormone. Insulin will inhibit or stop your liver from using the glucose that is stored in the liver. It will actually promote the liver to store extra glucose, which is actually also unhealthy for your liver in the long run. Insulin will inhibit our body from getting into a state of ketosis, which is actually the most natural state for our body. Insulin will also inhibit autophagy. Autophagy is a natural cleanup or the detox process that happens when we haven't eaten anything for some time. In scenario number 2, because you are fasting or haven't eaten anything for 6, 8 or more hours, glucagon will be the dominant hormone. So in scenario 2, glucagon will activate the usage of fat in our body. It will allow your body to use fat for energy. It will help your body burn fat more easily. It will actually stop your body or inhibit your body from storing fat. It will activate liver glycogen usage. So it will allow your liver to get rid of the excess glucose that is stored in it, and it will stop your liver from storing excess glucose. Glucagon will allow your body to get into the state of ketosis very easily, and it will also activate autophagy. So from these two scenarios, you can understand that frequent insulin secretions will help you gain weight, they will help you gain fat. and glucagon is responsible for using the excess stored glucose and excess fat from our liver, muscles and fat cells. When you eat frequently or when you have meals or snacks frequently, you end up having frequent glucose spikes. And when you have frequent glucose spikes, you have frequent insulin spikes. Frequent insulin spikes cause inflammation, low moods, a feeling of constant hunger, anxiety, Alzheimer's, diabetes, pre-diabetes, weight gain, and a whole host of other problems. So if you want to reverse pre-diabetes, diabetes, insulin resistance, PCOS, you want to reduce anxiety, enhance your moods, get a good night's sleep, you want to lose weight and keep it off, you want to ensure that you have a good, slightly easier menopause, then your aim should be to reduce the number of insulin spikes throughout the day and to reduce the magnitude of those insulin spikes as well. When you maintain steady blood glucose levels, you will start noticing that losing weight becomes easy, keeping that weight off becomes easy, your moods become stable throughout the day, you are somewhat calmer, less anxious, and your overall health markers, even your diabetes markers, will improve drastically. Now, if you're still watching the video, you must be wondering how you can reduce those frequent glucose and frequent insulin spikes throughout the day. Well, I'll give you 7 steps of how you can reduce those frequent glucose spikes and have stable glucose levels relatively throughout the day. And you can use a continuous glucose monitor if you want to test the results of these steps on yourself and see if they're actually working. So, you must have guessed the number 1 and the most important step, that is the topic of this video, that you must stop eating frequently. Stick to 2 to 3 proper meals throughout the day that are high in protein, high in good fats like ghee, butter, coconuts, coconut oil, avocados, olives, or cheese, raw cheese, to mention a few. And also make sure that you are getting your carbs through non-refined whole food sources like vegetables. As long as they are non-refined, as long as they are vegetables, carbs from those sources are absolutely fine. But refined carbs are what cause frequent glucose spikes. Let me just mention an interesting fact here, that carbs, especially the refined carbs, cause the highest insulin spikes and they take the longest to subside, followed by protein, which cause slightly lesser insulin spike, followed by fats, which cause zero insulin spikes. So when you learn to embrace a high fat, a high protein diet and a diet which is low in refined carbs, you are also ensuring that your health markers, your heart health, your longevity actually increases. So learn to embrace good fats as a part of your daily routine and go high on protein, low on refined carbs. As long as you're having those carbohydrates through vegetables and green leafy vegetables, it is absolutely fine. Have them as part of a healthy diet along with your fats and protein, and there will never be a problem with your health. And losing weight will not be a problem for you anymore. The next step is to target a feasting or an eating window of 8 to 9 hours and a fasting window of 15 to 16 hours. Over the next few months, try to limit your eating window to 8 hours and expand your fasting window to 16 hours. This will allow the insulin to taper off after your feasting window and glucagon to take over. Glucagon will ensure that the excess stored glucose and fat is used as energy. So you will start noticing, once you get used to this fasting lifestyle, you will start noticing if there is any stubborn belly fat or stubborn fat that you have had for a long time, that fat will start to reduce easily and keeping it off will also become very easy. In the beginning of this fasting lifestyle, you might feel hungry, you might feel cranky, but stay patient. Have electrolytes, stay hydrated in your fasting window, and very soon you will start noticing that you feel more alert, you feel more energetic in your fasting window. Step number 3 is to go for post-meal walks. A simple, slow or a normal paced walk of even 10 minutes right after a meal will ensure that the glucose spike that happens in response to a meal gets reduced by at least 50%. When we move right after a meal, Our muscles are able to take in the glucose from the blood without the help of insulin in huge quantities. Hence, post-meal walks will ensure lesser glucose spikes, which will ensure lesser insulin spikes. The next step is to have protein and fat in every meal. Prioritize protein and embrace fats like ghee, coconut oil and butter as the major cooking oils. Don't be afraid of these fats. Ensure that you are taking enough protein through sources like paneer or raw cheese, or maybe a good high quality protein powder if that suits you, or fish or meat to get the essential fatty acids and complete sources of protein. Make sure that you are having 1 gram of protein per kg of your ideal body weight, and ensure, if you want to have good sources of carbohydrates, that you have lots of green vegetables without any problem. Avoid the refined sources of carbohydrates. If you want to have a low spike diet plan, or whether you want to lose weight or you want to improve your chronic health markers, contact me for a personalized nutrition guidance via the contact information given below in the description. The next step is to eliminate table sugar, jaggery and honey. These are all sources of simple refined carbohydrates that will spike your blood glucose a lot, and as a result of which there will be a huge insulin spike leading to weight gain in the long run. Switch to stevia or monk fruit, which are natural sweeteners for your tea or coffee if they suit you. The next step is to stay active after a comfort meal that was high in carbohydrates. It is understandable that being humans, we sometimes want to indulge our taste buds in the foods that we like. They may be pasta or noodles or pizza every now and then. It is understandable, but staying sedentary after that meal is what causes the maximum damage. So once you are done with your comfort meal, make sure that you remain active. Go for a slow walk of 10, 15 or 20 minutes, or stay active doing chores around the house, but don't be sedentary. When you stay active, like I mentioned before, your muscle allows more glucose to enter in the muscles from the blood. This will ensure that there are no extreme insulin spikes, because the blood glucose spike will also reduce by at least 50% when you stay active or go for a post-meal walk after having a comfort meal. But remember, these comfort meals should not be an everyday thing, because the long-term consequences of eating junk foods or foods from restaurants are far-reaching. So make them once in a while, maybe once or twice in a month, and ensure that you stay active after having these comfort meals. Now the last and the final step is knowing what you can have during your fasting window in order to maintain good energy levels. Having black coffee, make sure that you have black coffee before 2 p.m. so that you can have a good night's sleep as well. So black coffee is fine, lemon water, electrolyte solutions which do not have sugar or flavoring substances in them, they are fine. Green tea, black tea are all fine. Apple cider vinegar if it suits you. These are all very good options that you can have during your fasting window to maintain good energy levels. So that's it guys. I hope you enjoyed watching the video and it was full of knowledge, and I also hope that you took notes on a pen and paper so that you can implement these changes in your life. So now that you know the science behind probably the most important hormone in your body, which is insulin, and how it works in opposition to glucagon, you can decide how you want to eat, and you are an informed consumer of YouTube videos where you do not fall prey to new diet trends or fad diets or crash dieting. So I hope this video helped you. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you in my next video. Stay tuned. Bye bye.